Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adigora Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adigora Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adigora Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shivasadi Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Govardhana Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 13, Text 8 and 9. So it's 2 verses. I'm going to read the first verse myself. The first verse we can recite responsibly, and then the second verse I'll just read it. Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam. Okay, sure. No problem. Do we know the sheets? Sure. Okay, so this is how you find it. Text 10. So you need to go previous. That's 8 and 9. We're going to read that one together. We're going to do that one alone. This one. Okay, let's do it again. Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam Pratyashtamita Viragraham Pratyastamita Vigraham Avabodha Rasaikatyam Anandam Anusantanam Anandam Anusantatam Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam Pratyastamita Vigraham Avabodha Rasaikatmyam Anandam Anusantatam. We'll do one more time. Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam Pratyasmita Vigraham Pratyastamita Vigraham Avabodha Rasaikatmyam Anandam Anusantanam. Anybody will? Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam Pratyastamita Vigraham Avabodha Rasaikatmyam Anandam Anusantatam. One try. Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam Pratyastamita Vigraham Avabodha Rasaikatmyam Anandam Anusantanam Tatam. Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam Pratyastamita Vigraham Avabodha Rasaikatmyam Anandam Anusantatam. Anybody else want to try? Okay. Atmanam, self. Brahma, spirit. Nirvanam, extinction of material existence. Pratyastamita, seized. Vigraham, separation. Avabodha rasa, by the mellow of knowledge. Ekatmyam, oneness. Anandam, bliss. Anusantatam, expanded. Avyavakchina, continuous. Yoga, by the practice of yoga. Agni, by the fire. Dagda, burned. Karma, fruit of desires. Mala, dirty. Ashaya, in his mind. Svarupam, constitutional position. Avarundana, realizing. Na, not. Atmana, than the Supreme Soul. Anyam, anything else. Tada, then. Aikshata, saw. Translation. By the expansion of his knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, he had already attained liberation from the bondage of the body. This liberation is known as nirvana. He was situated in transcendental bliss, and he continued always in that blissful existence, which expanded more and more. This was possible for him by the continual practice of bhakti yoga, which is compared to fire, because it burns away all dirty material things. He was always situated in his constitutional position of self-realization, and he could not see anything else but the Supreme Lord, and himself engaged in discharging devotional service. Purport. These two verses explain the verse in Bhagavad Gita 18:54. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kanchati sarma sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. One who is transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living entity. In that state, he achieves pure devotional service unto me. This is also explained by Lord Chaitanya in his Shikshastikam verse in the beginning of the first verse. Chetodarpanam arjanam bhavamaha davagni nivarpanam shreya kaireva chandrika vitaranam vidyavadu jivanam. The Bhakti Yoga system is the topmost yoga system, and in this system, the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is the foremost performance of devotional service. By chanting the holy name, one can attain perfection of nirvana or liberation from material existence, and so increase one's blissful life of spiritual existence as described by Lord Chaitanya, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. When one is situated in that position, he no longer has any interest in material opulence or even a royal throne and sovereignty over the whole planet. This situation is called Viraktir Anyatra Syat. It is the result of devotional service. The more one makes advancement in devotional service, the more one becomes detached from material opulence and material activity. This is the spiritual nature, full of bliss. This is also described in Bhagavad Gita 2:59. Param dristva nivartate. One ceases to take part in material enjoyment upon tasting superior blissful life in spiritual existence. By advancement in spiritual knowledge, which is considered to be like blazing fire, all material desires are burned to ashes. The perfection of mystic yoga is possible when one is continuously in connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead by discharging devotional service. A devotee is always thinking of the Supreme Person at every step in his life. Every conditioned soul is full of the reactions of his past life, but all dirty things are immediately burned to ashes if one simply executes devotional service. This is described in the Narada Pancharatra. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam. Let's go back to the verse. Atmanam brahma nirvanam pratyastamitta vigraham avabodha rasaikatmyam anandam anusantatam. By expansion of his knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, he had already attained liberation from the bondage of the body. This liberation is known as nirvana. He was situated in transcendental bliss, and he continued always in that blissful existence, which expanded more and more. This was possible for him by continual practice of bhakti yoga, which is compared to fire because it burns away all dirty material things. He was always situated in his constitutional position of self-realization, and he could not see anything else but the Supreme Lord, and himself engaged in discharging devotional service. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Ve'evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so today we're reading the section of the Bhagavatam where we're learning about the qualities of Dhruva Maharaj's son, coming to the end of this pastime. And Dhruva Maharaj's son's name is Utkala. We learn about him from the previous two verses. And what we learn about him from the previous two verses and the ones that I'm speaking on today is that he did not desire the kingdom. Dhruva had this whole kingdom that was given to him to look after by the Supreme Lord for 36,000 years. And that kingdom initially in Dhruva Maharaj's life was his goal, was everything he wanted. And then when he met Vishnu, it was not what he wanted, but then it was what he was given to take care of. And this is interesting because now here is his son, and his son has no desire for the kingdom. It's interesting because it's obviously consciousness that attracts a certain type of soul to the womb. At the time of conception, it's the consciousness of the parents that attracts a certain quality of soul to the womb. So sometimes people say like, you're just like your father, or you're just like your mother. And it's not just because you inherited their genes, it's because their consciousness has attracted a like consciousness to the womb, you know. So sometimes we can say a lot about parental trauma, but sometimes it's because we have a certain physical nature that we're attracted into a certain situation. So here we see that Dhruva had come to the point of where he had processed all those material desires. And then he attracts a certain soul to the womb, such as Utkala, who just has no desire for the kingdom. You know? And then if we look at Uttanapad, who was Dhruva's father, who was really gripped in material desire in terms of the kingdom, in terms of his wife, he had attracted a certain soul to that womb, which was Dhruva, who was born at 5 years old with a ferocious desire for the kingdom. So it's interesting, these parallels. There is a story that says, or Purana that says, that previous to Dhruva being born in this lifetime as in this story, Dhruva was the Brahmana attendant of a previous king. And as that attendant, he developed a desire to want the kingdom. Hence, he's born in the next life as Dhruva, with this ferocious desire to have the kingdom. So when we're learning about the qualities of Utkala, we learn the verse that Prabhupada quotes here is the famous Bhagavad Gita verse, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kanchati Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai. Samar sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. In this verse, the words that always stick out to me is na sochati na kankshati. No hankering, no lamenting. And as devotees, we've heard that phrase again and again and again, no hankering, no lamenting, no hankering, no lamenting. But to think about it, Think about it. What does it mean, no hankering and no lamenting? Hankering, it means that the burning desire of I want. Lamenting, why don't I have it? Or why can't I get rid of this? And these two things, it's kind of like pendulum, swings from one thing to the other thing, to the other thing, to the other thing. I want it, I don't want it, I want it, why don't I get this? I want it. So the soul, the conditioned soul, is really caught up in this, deeply, deeply caught up in this desire of I want and I don't want. And both of them is keeping us away from Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, from that stage where Utkala is now, of just being peacefully above that, peacefully above the pull of all these desires. Because it's Dhruva's desire for the kingdom. Yeah, the hankering is there, that he wanted this burning desire that took him from one life into the other life. So this desire drove him into the next life. And so this nasochati nakangshati, it's not a small thing. The desires that we are cultivating within our hearts are is creating a blueprint of our next body. You can kind of see it, like if you visualize it, mentally. As we're thinking, as we're desiring, there's a body being designed behind us, suiting all those desires. Of course, not that just that, okay, I desire to look like, Cindy Crawford, and so therefore now that body starts developing behind me. It's also according to karma, Say what you like about that body is that, it's really slender and smooth. If your karma doesn't match that, you may just become an earthworm, slender and smooth. You see, so karma has to match the desire in order for that. So nasochati nakangshati, to be free. And it's not like within the devotional realm we're actually automatically free from hankering and lamenting. Why did I have to do this service? Couldn't somebody else have done that service? Why did they give it to me? Because nobody else wanted to give class, so I had to give class. So nasochati nakangshati, lamentation. Why did I have this situation? Couldn't have had this situation like the other person. Always. And what a waste of energy it is, right? What a waste of energy, because when we are in hankering and lamenting, we want something in the future, or we're lamenting something that didn't happen, right? Both things, they don't exist. They don't exist. They are not in our present. And so therefore we lose the present. We lose the present because we're so absorbed in what I must get in the future in order to be happy. Or what if this didn't happen? It happened. So nasochati nakangshati, when we're not on that platform of no hankering and no lamenting, we are not in the present. We are not in gratitude, accepting what I got is what's meant to have come to me. We are not in the gratitude of understanding that what should come to me will come. So both ways. So therefore, Utkala being on this Brahma Bhuta stage, firstly he did not desire the kingdom. He was satisfied and unattached to the world, equipoised. And then he saw everything resting in the super soul. This is the qualities that's being described of Utkala. and the Supersoul present in everyone's heart. So he basically saw everyone resting in the Supersoul, meaning that everyone coming from Krishna and everyone possessing Krishna in their heart. And therefore he was situated in transcendental bliss, which was expanding. So just to focus on that, everyone situated in Krishna and everyone possessing Krishna in the heart. This is such a high platform. Such a very high platform to be on. Because this is the only platform where you truly can be non-discriminatory. Our world, there's so many isms: sexism, racism, homophobia, so much of stuff, so many ways, genocide, all these things that make us distinguish between one body and another body. And we try to look out for the proverbial rainbow nation, where everyone treats everybody equal. That's Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, na sochati na kangshati. We're thinking that just now, after being a liberated country, everyone's going to be on the Brahma Bhuta platform. Yeah, right. No, because the heart hasn't changed. So to truly be non-discriminatory in that sense, you have to be like Utkala. You have to see everything is resting in the Supersoul and see the Supersoul in everyone. That's the only time that we can be above unconscious biases. Because wherever there is more than one person, there will be discrimination. Different. Wherever there is anything different, whether it's the size of your toes, the color of your skin, whether it's the way that you look, whether it's your accent, whatever it is, wherever there's difference, there'll be discrimination. Yet at the same time, then it's interesting then to come to the conclusion that there should be no difference. And let everybody be one. But that also is not enough. Because there's a beauty in diversity. And it's because we see it with clouded vision that we're not able to appreciate it. And therefore Krishna's realm is completely diverse. With lots of different people of different kinds, with different expressions, different rasas that combine in different ways. Everything fresh and never ever repeated. And yet the joy is expanding. And no one's getting bored. So that's there because that is diversity in its ultimate expression. Where difference doesn't mean discrimination. So when we encounter people that are discriminatory, we have to understand, or not to condone their action, but we have to understand, of course they are. Because we're in this material body and we're not above the platform of hankering and lamenting. We're not above that platform. And so if we're not above that platform, can we really expect it from somebody else? And sometimes it's so easy to be, in one sense, want equality, and utterly not see, in another sense, how we are discriminating simultaneously. I was in a conversation once where a certain individual was feeling that they were discriminated upon by their race, And I thought it was true. It was definite that that person was, and it was very sad, But then in the next breath, they mentioned something, that was really clear that they were homophobic. It's like, you mean, it was basically said, oh, them? They're here? It's referring to someone with a different sexual preference, I was thinking, on one hand, it's easy for you to see that the racial discrimination is present. But on the other hand, with that same vision, you can't see how you're actually also being discriminatory. It's really interesting. So therefore, all of us have this in us. All of us have the propensity to discriminate based on the body and the mind. But all of us also have the propensity to rise to the platform of Utkala and be able to see that the Supersoul is present in everyone's heart and that everyone is resting within the Supersoul. And so then this part there where Srila Prabhupada is saying that this was possible by his practice of Bhakti Yoga, which is the fire that burns away dirty material things. Interesting that the word for dirty material things is mala, as opposed to mala, which is the garland. Mala is dirty material things in the heart. And Prabhupada is giving the verse of Cheto Darpanam Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nivarpanam. And that is describing also a fire. The fire of burning material existence. Bhava Davagni. It's extinguishing the forest fire of material desires. And so on one hand, material desires is being described like a fire. Now on the other hand, Bhakti Yoga as a process is being described like a fire. And the fire, this fire, is burning all the dirty things in the heart. I was listening to a lecture by Sankarshan Prabhu this morning on this verse, and he was saying that the mala is the dust, Chetudarpana Marjanam, dust that's covering the heart. So that mala, that dirty things, is the dust that's covering the heart. However, there's also another type of dust. The dust that's on the lotus feet of Sri Sri Radharadhanan, the dust of Krishna, the dust on the lotus feet of Krishna. That dust is said to be saffron in color. That is why brahmacharis and sannyasis wear saffron, because it is the color of the dust on the lotus feet of Krishna. And so he was making the point that all you got to do is just transfer your focus from the dust that's in the mirror of the heart to the dust that's on the lotus feet of Krishna. And I thought that was a beautiful point. One dust to another dust. So when I was seeing this process, reading through this, you see Utkala comes to that stage of expanding bliss, which comes in that verse, Chetodarpanam, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. Sometimes, like if I think of my niece, it's like, there's this impression that if we go to the spiritual world, it's going to be so boring. Like it's just going to be all about Krishna, and all my favorite fast food restaurants is not going to be there, and and somebody had once told my spiritual master, why would I want to go to the spiritual world? I don't know anyone there. So genuinely, we see in the descriptions of the spiritual world, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, that joy is not like the joy we experience here. It says that Utkala's bliss, it was expanding. So we got to think about it. The first time you eat ice cream or you tried pizza, and it's like, wow, this is amazing. And the next time it's like, wow, this is amazing. If you eat pizza every week, then it's like, okay, we're getting pizza today. It just becomes like that. And therefore nobody in Italy is actually crazy about pizza as the rest of the world. It's just like, it's actually like peasant food, So or pasta for that matter. So the material world is designed to show us the limit of enjoyment. Just you cannot go, you reach the boundary and it's like, and it's the same thing, relationships get stale. What was once love becomes like we tolerate each other, in a best case scenario, worst case scenario, because we can't stand each other. Not always, not everybody, but it's you see that, you see it happen, and therefore it shows us the limit of the enjoyment we can get here. But the spiritual world is Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, that experience of bliss is ever increasing. Now, the brain will go like, okay, so if I get 2% more bliss tomorrow than I get today, and you increase it and increase it and increase it like infinitely, like is that physically possible? Like you infinitely become more happy. Infinitely. It is possible, but we can't understand it because there's nothing in our experience like that. We can't understand, like, what would that experience be? And even our own experience in Krishna consciousness is not like that. We get our moments of bliss. We do. But every single day, better than the last day. Is that how we experience it? Some days, no. Some days I want to go back to yesterday. Or I just want to skip to tomorrow. So that's because na sochati na kankshati. We're hankering. We're lamenting. We're fixed on the material platform. And it's very hard to be constantly on the spiritual platform. And most of the times when it comes, it's a gift. Oh my word. Can you believe it? I actually heard the mantra today. Must be Krishna's mercy, can't be me. So therefore moments. We get moments of enlightenment, moments of experience. Just enough to keep us going. Enough to say like, okay, I'm not blooping today. I'm just going to continue in my devotional service. Until we reach a stage where we're inspired like Utkala. And when someone's on that stage where they're moving off that self-spiritual motivation, then when they come into the room, everyone's like, but please don't leave because our spiritual life is depending on you. You feel the energy lift you up. So when I was reading this, I was thinking about how it really reminds me that Utkala was achieving the stage through the process of devotional service. And it really reminds me of the characteristics of devotional service, which is in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or Srila Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion. And I'm almost there. Where the 6 characteristics of devotional service is described, or the characteristics of pure devotional service. And they're described as, I just want to go through them. Yeah. So the first one is described as Klesh Agni. When we begin devotional service, that our material suffering is eliminated. The next one is said to be Subhada. I'm just looking for the list. It's here. One second. Sorry. Kleshagni Subhada, which means that all auspiciousness comes. And then we get Moksha Laguta Krit, which means that liberation becomes insignificant. And what this means is that the desire to want to avoid suffering, that is the desire for liberation. To want to be free from the material body just to avoid suffering, but not necessarily to worship Krishna. So at that point the desire to just be liberated just becomes insignificant. And then with that, the next characteristic is that it's Sudurlabha, very rarely attained. And the next 2 characteristics is Sandrananda Visheshadma, that it becomes increasingly and increasingly condensed sweetness. You've got to think of like kheer, how the milk is just boiled down with sugar, and it just gets condensed and condensed and condensed until you're eating this like ambrosial liquid that's like cream, but you have to taste it to actually know. And then the last one is Sri Krishna Akarshani, that it attracts Krishna. And so in our practice of Krishna consciousness, sometimes it feels, I thought of like, okay, Kleshagni. That means all my material suffering should have been eliminated by now because I started devotional service. So like, why does my knee hurt when I sit on the Vyasasana? And then it's described klesha means suffering, and the types of kleshas are also described. What types of suffering become eliminated? And the first one is ignorance. Thinking of pain and pleasure, thinking that pain is pleasure and that dirty is clean. The second one is asmita, the false ego. The third one is raga, desire. The fourth one is dvesha, or hatred. And the last one is abhinivesha, which is fear of death or the fear of change. So these alone are considered the 6 kleshas. And just by beginning devotional service, the first symptom is that we become free of these kleshas. But we also become gradually free of these kleshas. So when we describe these characteristics, we have to understand that kleshagni and subhada, they're within the practice of sadhana bhakti. And then the characteristics of moksha lagutakrit and sudurlabha, which is above liberation and above and understanding the rarity of devotional service, that comes within the realm of bhava bhakti. And then Sanjananda Visheshadma, which is the condensed sweetness and the ability to completely attract Krishna by our actions, Sri Krishna Karshiti, that's in the realm of Prema Bhakti. But even if you just look at Kleshagni, not bad. Not bad, that slowly these things will be removed from our heart. Slowly the ignorance, the false ego, the desire, the hatred, the fear of death, the fear of change, these things will slowly be lifted from us. And we can see, like in the personality of Utkala, that these things are manifesting. So, the other thing is that in the verse, in the purport, Sri Prabhupada quotes different verses. And I wanted to read sort of the last paragraph of the purport a little bit more. The more one makes advancement in devotional service, the more one becomes detached from material opulence and material activity. This is a spiritual nature full of bliss. So I guess it's a yardstick, Advancement in devotional service means detachment from material activity, that the taste for it is no longer there, or no longer as strong. But sometimes the taste for it is there, But the taste for one thing may be there, but for something else may not. So over time, certain things are easier to alleviate from the heart, and certain things are harder, depending what our karmic bank account is like, And but at the same time, whilst developing this material detachment, spiritual attachment has to also be there. Therefore, Prabhupada is quoting the verse Param Dristva Nivartante, which we find in the Bhagavad Gita 259. Just want to get to it. Here we go. Vishaya vinivartante nirahasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasam param dristva nivartante. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains. But seizing such engagement by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. This is like a really important verse, right? Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remain. Which means that even while we're on the devotional path and we're engaged in devotional activity, the tendency to move to material enjoyment is there. It's still within the heart. My spiritual master would say, it's not like a sannyasi cannot see the difference between a woman who is externally, physically beautiful and one who is not. It's not like now he has no eyes and he cannot see it. It's there. You can see. It's in front of you. But it says that though the taste for the sense objects remains, but seizing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. So there's two tastes. There's a taste we have for the material energy, and there's a taste that we have for Krishna. And by experiencing the taste of Krishna consciousness, that's the only way we can overcome the taste for the material energy. It's the only way. Because if spiritual life is a suffering, we're not going to be able to stay on it. How long? Just on knowledge. Just on knowledge of knowing this is good for me. We don't last on the spiritual platform. We can't last on the spiritual platform. Because you're just like holding on. But the cultivation of spiritual taste then you can last. Because there's some nourishment coming. And that's the difference between the impersonal process and the personal process. In the impersonal process, I can see na sochati, na kangshati. Hankering and lamenting is bad for me. It doesn't give me what I want. So I mechanically try to kill all my desires. And you become cold and hard person. But the spiritual process, bhakti yoga, is a personal path, which means that we're not saying kill your material desires. We are saying use your brain, get the knowledge, and sometimes when there is no taste, you have to fall back on knowledge. Like, okay, I'm not going to do this because karmically it's going to mess me up. If I eat things if I eat other living beings, then I am going to have to incur that karma. So even if I have no taste for vegetables, I understand this is going to no. But at some point you have to develop the taste because you can't just rely on knowledge. So taste is like the tightrope. If you think of a circus, you see that there's the person that holds the stick and walks on the tightrope. And then underneath there's this net, there's a safety net. So when we are operating on taste, we are walking on a tightrope. Because we may have taste at any moment, or we may not have taste at any moment, and it may slip. But if we slip, then we fall in the net. And the net is a net of knowledge. So if we fall in the net, we're okay. We're still alive. We'll survive. We can get back up on the tightrope. But if we don't have the net of knowledge, then we splat on the ground and you're dead. So therefore, the kirtan's amazing, I love it, but I don't read the books. It means I'm on the tightrope, but I got no safety net. Because I love it, there's taste. So we should cultivate that taste. But if one day the kirtan is not so nice, then I just decide, okay. So therefore, we need the taste, but we have to have the safety net of knowledge also. So param drisva nivartante, even if there is taste for the material world, because we cultivate spiritual taste. Now that's the thing. It's not so easy to always cultivate spiritual taste, because sometimes it means doing something that doesn't appear tasty repeatedly before that taste develops. Like the first time you sit to chant japa, it's like when is that round going to end? It feels eternal. You keep looking at the beads. I mean, if you've seen people chant japa also for the first time, it's like how many more till the end of the round? It's like how long are we going to do this? It's a freak out, But then slowly with practice, the heart is cleansed and taste is developing. So sometimes we just need to allow ourselves to experience spiritual taste. To read long enough to develop some taste, to hear a little more in order to develop some taste, Yesterday, Rukmini was in the kitchen, was the other day, in the kitchen cooking, and I was disturbing her and asked her a question. And she's cooking, she's cooking, and she's like, wait, I'm going to miss this part. And she went and pressed pause on the phone because she's listening to a lecture. And that's taste. It means that you want to hear. But that only can come when you have these years of hearing, when you were not so sure about, do I really want to hear? So sometimes, in order to get taste, we have to survive the walk through a tasteless environment for some time before taste can develop. So I'm going to stop here. Today we are learning from Utkala, Dhruva's son. And we're learning and seeing how desire, hankering and lamenting, puts us in the situation that we are at. Just like Utkala was the son of Dhruva, and Dhruva the son of Uttanapad, and both of them imbibed qualities of the father. So therefore our consciousness and the hankering and lamenting that we allow to live within our consciousness is creating our future lives. We're also seeing that in the process of bhakti, just the performance of bhakti is the fire that kills the the dirty things in the heart, the mala, and that if we transfer our attention to the dust and the lotus feet of Krishna instead, that is a lot more pleasing to the soul. And that in the cultivation of higher taste, param drisva nivartante, we'll have to be brave enough to cross the desert of no taste. I'll leave it there. Is there any thoughts or comments? We can take it now, or questions. You'll need the mic.
Hare Krishna. It's weird work. So when I was home, I had like this question, right? Of course, I couldn't ask anybody over the phone because it's just weird. So like, I had like this thing where like my brain couldn't stop thinking, right? Like overthinking, yeah, to be specific. I was in distress, you know, and what I did was I tried to chant more and all that, but somehow, some way, your brain just, you know, when you're chanting and like you get so many thoughts while you're chanting, and I kind of felt like I couldn't do it properly, you know. So it's like my question is, what would you advise someone who's trying to find peace with his mind? You know, like how do you like harness that? You know.
Happens to me all the time.
Oh, okay.
It's normal. Well, normal for conditioned souls who are mad enough anyway. So sometimes when I'm in that sort of situation where I'm overthinking something, the first thing is sometimes when I feel like chanting is not helping me at that point, it's because I'm chanting but I'm not hearing. This is me specifically, I'm talking about my experience, is that I'm chanting, but my mind is using that chanting like a play field. So my lips are chanting, but my ears may be hearing something, but like it's not trying to hold that mantra, like Krishna help me now, you know. I'm just chanting because I need to do these rounds, and my mind is everywhere, but I'm going to do them, so Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, but I've already worked out 4 scenes in my head, you know. So usually then it definitely means that I'm not really trying with my heart and with my ears to hold on to the holy name, you know. And sometimes that's difficult. Sometimes I can't get myself there. So when I can't get myself there, then I think, okay, right, I do need to chant and it's important, but right now I need to find another way to help me be Krishna conscious, because I can't get that grip on my mind. So then sometimes I would say, maybe put my bead bag down and listen to some kirtan, get into a melody, because I like that melody, because it's easier for me to get into, you know. And then the mind calms down a little bit, and then I can chant, you know. Or sometimes the thing that's on my mind is important, and it's affecting my heart, and I need to talk to a devotee. I need to say, this is what I'm thinking about, and it's going on and on and on and on. You know, and sometimes just because I took it out of my mind and I revealed it to another person, it just loses its power on me. This has happened so many times. Because the more we keep it in there and it's just like ballooning, you know, then the less and less I'm able to, it's just like when you take it out, it just goes, you know, just like a balloon deflating. So sometimes I listened to a lecture a few weeks ago, and Kadambakananda Swami was saying, whether we're pure or impure, just place yourself in the process of purity. So sometimes I don't want to be in the Bhagavatam class, you know, but then I just put myself there. So my mind is overthinking, but I would just put myself with the devotees, just put myself in the kirtan, find a program, travel to get to it. Just because if I'm there, even if my mind is not there, but I'm in the association, something will come off. So we have to understand that the mind is like a child. And like with a child, you can't always say, shut up and sit there. Because they listen to you the first time maybe they listen to you the second time out of fear, but eventually they're going to grow up and be mean teenagers who hate you. So you have to actually take the time to like, okay, so can we handle this now? Can we do a little bit? Can we do 5 minutes? What way can I coax you to be Krishna conscious now? Sometimes, should I say this? Once my spiritual master, he went for a very intense operation in his teeth. He had taken out a tooth, and somehow the doctor had left the cotton wool in. So months later, it had started eating into his jaw and gums, right? And he had to get it again sorted out because he didn't realize the cotton wool was in, obviously. So he was on schedule 6 meds, and he doesn't take anything for a painkiller. I mean, he went through stage 4 cancer and didn't take painkillers. So he was on meds at this point. So, and then there was just, it's like he was completely zonked, because this pain was so bad and he was on painkillers. But I would see how he would try to be Krishna conscious in that situation. Sometimes he would just come here and plop himself there and just talk to anybody who came. He just keep talking to them. Something Krishna conscious, but just talking to them. And sometimes I could hear from Prabhupada's room, because he was in the inner room, from Prabhupada, I could hear Little Krishna playing, Little Krishna, the TV series, the video series, yeah. So sometimes he would just be watching Little Krishna, because in that situation that he was with this deep pain, that's how he could be Krishna conscious. So we have to figure, we have to trick, we have to train, we have to give, we have to take with our minds to see how can I be Krishna conscious in this situation. And not just hit it against the wall, chant, 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 So we should chant, and we should try to chant. We have a commitment to chant, we should keep it. Better to have the blah, 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 blah around than nothing, But at the same time, you want to be Krishna conscious where there's some taste. Does this answer your question? Okay, I'll stop. I think that's a long answer. Okay, anything else? We can stop here. Okay. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.